Welcome to the space between. I'm glad you're here. Pull up a chair. Take a slow breath with me. One of the things retirement has taught me is that the biggest changes in our lives rarely begin with a decision. They begin much earlier, long before the retirement party, long before the farewell speeches, long before we even say the words, I think I'm ready. Looking back now, I can see that my retirement journey began years before I retired. I just didn't know it. And maybe that's true for many of us. We assume life changes begin when we take action. But now I think they begin as whispers. A little more fatigue, a little less excitement, a growing desire for more space, more freedom, more quiet. At the time, those feelings didn't seem to connect. I just thought I was tired. Looking back, I realized something much deeper was happening. Part of me was already preparing for a different chapter, even though the rest of me had not caught up yet. For most of my career, I loved my work, and I wasn't counting down the days until retirement. I believed deeply in the mission, helping young people, building organizations, teaching, consulting, mentoring, solving complicated problems. I loved it all. In fact, I often describe myself as a thoroughbred. I even used to tell my supervisors, turn me loose, give me room to run and space to build, and I'll surprise you with what I can accomplish. And then I'd also add, but if you pull the reins too tight, if you try to micromanage me, I'll find another pasture to run in. That probably tells you everything you need to know about me. I've always loved building things, creating, leading, turning an idea and making it real. I wasn't energized by titles. I was energized by possibility. Give me a challenge and I'll be off and running. But here's what I never expected. One day, the thoroughbred, me, got tired. Not because I didn't still love to run, but I was running on a track that no longer fit this season of my life. The work that had energized me for decades was beginning to require more energy than it gave back. Nothing dramatic had happened. The mission hadn't changed. The people hadn't changed. I had changed. I found myself saying things like, I'm just tired. I need a vacation. I'll slow down next year. Have you ever noticed how we explain away those little signals? We tell ourselves we're just busy, that things will settle down, that once this project is over, or this grant is finished, or this board meeting is behind us, life will feel different. Except somehow, there's always another project, there's always another deadline, another meeting, another reason to keep running. And around that time, one word kept returning to me: untethered. I wanted to feel untethered. Untethered from airports, untethered from constant deadlines, untethered from a calendar that had become so full there wasn't much room left in it for me. I wanted to be untethered from always carrying the weight of leadership. I imagined what freedom might feel like. I imagined waking up with nowhere to be. No meetings, no flights, no emergencies. It sounded wonderful. Eventually, I got exactly what I thought I wanted. I became untethered. I had left my big leadership job and had launched my own consulting practice. My own schedule, my own clients, no boss, no one pulling the reins. The freedom I'd been longing for. And for a little while I thought, this is it. And then one afternoon I opened my calendar and I was shocked by what I saw. It was completely and utterly full with clinical work, teaching, speaking, consulting, grant writing. And that's when it hit me. I had left my job, but I hadn't changed myself. Apparently, I'd taken the CEO out of the office, but I hadn't taken the achiever out of Elizabeth. I was untethered, but out of breath. Because after 40 years of running, I had forgotten how to stop. After all, no one teaches a thoroughbred how to graze. We teach it how to run. and I had spent decades measuring my worth by what I had accomplished. And even though I had finally had the freedom I dreamed about, part of me was still looking for another finish line. So I went back to the research to help me understand what I was experiencing. And I rediscovered the trans-theoretical model of change, often called the stages of change. And I found myself lingering over the very first stage, called pre-contemplation. People often think that means denial or resistance. But what I think it means is we're taking a clue, we're looking into potentially changing. And it sounds like, I'm just tired. I miss having time to think. I wish life felt a little simpler. And those weren't excuses, those were clues. Life was whispering before I was ready to listen. And when I look back now, I can see those whispers everywhere. My growing love of Lake Talquin, long walks in the forest, quiet mornings, reading for pleasure, and writing because I wanted to, not because someone else was waiting for a report. Watching the sunset instead of checking email one more time. Those weren't random interests. Life was already introducing me to my next chapter. I just didn't recognize the invitation. And that's why I wanted to share this story today. Because I think many of us are waiting for certainty. We're waiting for the moment when everything becomes clear. The moment we'll finally know it's time to retire. But looking back, that's not how it happened for me. There wasn't one defining moment. There wasn't one big decision. There were whispers, a recurring thought, a growing fatigue, a longing I couldn't quite explain, a feeling that something no longer fit the way it had once before. At the time, those whispers didn't seem connected. But looking back, they were pointing me towards my next chapter all along. If that's where you find yourself today, don't rush to fix it. Don't assume you need all the answers. Maybe your only job right now is to listen. Don't assume you need a 5-year plan. Maybe your only job right now is to notice. Notice what gives you energy. Notice what drains it. Notice what keeps calling your attention. Because change often begins before we recognize it, long before the decision, long before the plan, long before the action. And so today's retirement lesson is this. The biggest life transitions rarely begin with a decision. They begin with whispers. So pay attention. Your next chapter may already be quietly introducing itself. Before we close today, I'd like to leave you with a question. What whisper have you been hearing that you've been too busy to listen to? Our job is not to force the flame. Our job is to protect the space that allows it to find its way. If you know someone else navigating this uncertain middle, invite them here. And if this resonated, please hit like and subscribe. It helps others find their way to this space too. We'll learn in public, we'll rest on purpose, and we'll get braver together. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Winter. This is The Space Between.